Greetings one and all! Class has begun and thank you for joining me today for another lesson on lore from the worlds of Aetheris. Last week we discussed the lore of the Machinist, which is a fast-paced shooter, and one of the newer jobs that seems to have connections a little bit everywhere, from Ishgard to Garlemald. So how about today we are going to go all the way to Garlemald for this lesson and learn about the ones who constantly walk upon the edge of a knife, Reaper. So let's go ahead and ask the question, what is a Reaper? Well, long before the Empire's time, the Garleans subsisted under constant threat of invasion by magic-wielding peoples. One clan sought a means to fight upon even ground with these invaders, no matter the cost. Thus were pacts made with voidsent and sites repurposed for the Crimson Harvest. As for the brief history involving the Reapers, in the long ago age, the Garlean forebearers were content to work their fields in the southern reaches of Ishgard. This was not to last, however, for they faced constant incursions by would-be invaders, who eventually drove them from the beautiful Locus Ominois into the frigid northern mountains some 8 centuries ago. Yet even there they found no respite from conflict, with surrounding inhabitants of the frozen territory constantly contesting what scarce resources the Garleans possessed. It was in this age of strife that the former tillers of earth would become harvester of souls, compensating for their innate inability to manipulate magic by forming pacts with denizens of the void, pacts paid for in blood. Thus strengthened by voidsent allies, this clan of so-called Reapers took to the fields whenever enemy forces waved the banners of war, assassinating the commanders of opposing armies to obliterate organizations and morale in one fell swoop. It was they who long protected kin and country, and yet with the invention of Magitech and its empire, saw the Reapers consigned to obscurity until the group nay faded from history entirely. Now, the art of the Reaper is a form of battle that is not for everyone. They stick to the shadows and hunt much like the voidsent that they make pacts with. The Reapers nowadays have mostly faded from the world, save for a few small pockets of them, such as a gathering of Garleans known as Lemures in Uda, who are led by Drusilla. The word Lemures means spirits of the dead in Old Garlean tongue, and they keep their identities as Garlean secrets while serving as swords for hire and also hunting down other voidsents. Back in the early days of the Empire, they originally served a role that wasn't unlike the Dark Knights of Ishgard, who were the shadowy assassins against corrupted individuals with power. As such, the Lemures served to protect Garlean refugees who despised the darker parts of the Empire and fled to Eorzea to seek protection and freedom. Now, as for the best equipment and weapons needed to bring out the full power of the Reaper, since this particular job has its origins as humble farm folk, you can still see the fieldworker's garb mixed in with the suits that Reapers wear today. The long cloaks also provide warmth amidst the frigid climes of the frozen wastes of Garlemald, and also conceal weapons from prying eyes. As for the intentionally frayed hem, it helps to discourage the untrained eye from giving otherwise sturdy attire masquerading as old rags a second glance, which is perfect for assassinations. As for the weapons themselves, their advanced scythes were once humble sickles, another reminder that Reapers were once simple farmers. Their forge of cement, an advanced Garlean alloy of remarkable hardiness, and this deadly weapon's blade is indeed sharp. The teeth and claw on its spine are used to concert to hook and shatter the enemy's weapon that come flying towards them. Reapers are fast-paced, close combat fighters, able to swing about their scythes as easily as if they were pocket knives. Even without relying upon a voidsent ally, also known as an avatar, they are deadly at close range. As for what an avatar is, they're the voidsent entities with which a pact is formed. They're summoned through the medium of a soul crystal. And for such a bond to be established, the voidsent soul must be uniquely compatible, perhaps nigh indestructible from the Reaper's own, given that the Reaper's power relies on their ability to play physical host to the voidsent. If we take the stars sundering as fact, we must consider the possibility that this compatibility is rendered not by chance, but due to both souls once having been part of the same whole. However, this theory remains unverified at present. So let us now take a look at a few tricks of the trade involving the most iconic abilities the Reaper is able to use, starting off with its limit break, ironically known as the End. Through momentarily uniting with their avatar, the Reaper summons forth a massive fantastical scythe that disembowels their prey. Practitioners must be determined and prepared to annihilate even the most fearsome of foes when attempting to execute this high-level ability. But we do have other abilities such as Slice. As an oversized farming implement, the Reaper's scythe does not lend itself to jabs and thrusts, instead requiring the strength of one's whole body to sweep the blade as required. Performing these slices accurately and efficiently demands a high level of proficiency, only achieved through years of rigorous training. Gluttony. This technique summons the Reaper's avatar to unleash potent magics upon the enemy and their surrounds in exchange for a feast of souls. As such, its name serves as a reminder of the sin committed each time it is brought to bear. Enshroud. This dangerous art sees the Reaper offer their flesh as vessel for their avatar. With the power of an additional soul, the wielder becomes a surpassing menace on the battlefield, if only temporarily. Should the Reaper let their guard down for even a moment of this time, however, they stand the risk of their avatar holding the reins permanently. Now, I will refrain from speaking too much about the job quests if you haven't played through them yet, but I will be given a brief description of some key characters who are noted figures in helping us through the journey. Drusilla Varus. Born in a remote village in the Garlean lands that protected the Reaper tradition for generations, Drusilla made her own pact with an avatar at a young age. Sadly, 20 years ago, the Void Sent Orcus seized control of her grandsire's flesh and murdered her husband, child, and every remaining member of her clan. Though she was powerless to stop the monster, a regret that haunts her even to this day, she survived the encounter by some twist of fate that saw her avatar's soul consumed in place of hers. Her grandsire, having been branded a traitor to the Empire, however, she was forced to flee Golemald and wandered for many years before settling in Eorzea. There, she found a band of Garlean exiles in need of succor, with whom she forged a new family, the Lemures. Reports indicate that she has no immediate plans to return to Golemald, though apparently she still prefers vodka from Ishabard over Aldenard. As for Orcus himself, considered the greatest reaper who ever lived, Rulus Varus, Drusilla's grandsire, harvested countless souls in battle after battle with Orcus as his avatar. Lamenting over Golemald's transformation from a humble nation of farmers into a cold, immoral empire, he sought to assassinate Emperor Solus, seeing him as the root of the cause of the nation's descent into madness. In that fateful battle, however, Rulus bore witness to Solus's might, a might which defied the limits of mortal men. In his desperation, Rulus drew more and yet more strength from the void, hoping to even the odds. No amount would ever be enough, however, and before long he was consumed by the power he had drawn forth, forfeiting control over his body to Orcus. The unbound fiend relished his newfound freedom in the source, and began an endless feeding frenzy, gorging on the souls of the innocent to appease his insatiable appetite. Now, if you're interested in becoming a Reaper yourself, you have to already possess what one would call a killing instinct, a way of behaving in order to achieve an advantage for yourself without considering or worrying if it hurts other people, especially when that comes to your enemies. Fighting alongside Voidsent is already risky business, but to actually share the power of one means constantly pushing yourself to the very edge, where just one hint of weakness, one moment of letting your guard down, could mean your last. The Lemures' headquarters in Udal are particular on who they let join them, but one needn't worry about being only accepted as Garlean, for Drusilla does have an eye for talent, and one must gain her approval before being allowed to even make a pact to begin with. So if you can't even pass her first test, then there's really no point in going on forward with it. And that will be it for right now. Thank you all so much for joining me today for the lesson on the lore of the Reaper. It is a rather darker job with a bloodier history than some of the other jobs we talked about. But hey, if you got the stones to be able to embrace the powers of the Void, then perhaps you'd be interested in making a deal of your own. Just be careful, though, with how much you actually promise in return. Well, I hope that you're all looking forward to the next lesson, which once again will be a surprise. But until next time, everyone, class dismissed.